last thing he said to her was, "But I'm calling you from Paris." I thought it was one of the funniest stories I ever heard. Excuse me. Barnabas, you're just in time for one last drink before they close the place.
Thank you.
What'll it be?
Brandy.
Brandy. And another one of these. Let's sit over here.
You seem to be in the midst of a celebration.
Oh, not really. I just feel rather good.
Well, that could be reason enough for a celebration. What is it that makes you feel so good?
The future. Yes. Let's call it the future.
Well, I'm glad to see you brimming with such optimism. Your enterprises must be going well.
Oh, this has nothing to do with business. No, this is purely personal.
Personal? Well, I won't intrude by inquiring.
Oh, I wouldn't discuss it with you now. No, it's not quite definite yet.
Oh? Then there's a chance that this bright prospect of yours might not come into fulfillment.
Well, nothing is really ever positive until it actually happens. Thank you.
And then perhaps your celebration is premature.
Perhaps. But I was feeling so good, I didn't want the moment to go by unnoticed. What about you, Barnabas? What about your prospects?
Perhaps we share something in common. There's the possibility that very soon I too will have something to celebrate.
Oh. Am I to be included in your celebration?
I assure you it would be nothing without you.
Barnabas, I wonder about something.
What is it?
I wonder whether we really like each other.
Why do you wonder that?
Well, the way we talk to each other, the way we intimate things without actually coming out and saying what's in our minds. As if we're playing a card game for very high stakes.
What an interesting observation. And an interesting simile. A card game. I'll tell you something. I think of our relationship more as a duel. Two superb swordsmen with highly sharpened blades. You thrust, I parry. I thrust, you parry.
I prefer my simile to yours.
Why?
Because mine is merely a game, which one either wins or loses, depending on the cards.
And mine?
But yours seems to be a matter of complete desperation. Life or death. To lose a duel with you would be to lose everything, including one's life.
But isn't that the purpose of a duel?
If a duel is necessary. Is it?
Well, that can't be determined until the sword is in one's hand. But you make me sound so evil when all the time the stakes in a card game could also be life or death.
I think we played ourselves into a stalemate.
A temporary one.
Shall we drink then? To either the deck of cards or the sabers, whichever it's to be.
Well, that certainly is worthy of a toast.
You know, Barnabas, you interest me enormously.
As an opponent?
Oh, not necessarily. I'd like to get to know you better.
Know me or about me?
Knowing about you is something you make rather difficult. If you remember, I tried that the other evening. And all I could really learn was the fact that you once lived in London with a cousin. What was his name?
Bradford. Niall Bradford.
Yes. Yes, Niall Bradford. Now, how could I forget an unusual name like that? I think he's getting ready to close up.
Thank you for the brandy.
Thank you for playing the game.
Hello, good afternoon. It is your host, Emmanuel Isaiah Smith, and today's date is Monday, October 27th, 2025. The time is 12:35 p.m. and I am in Doral, Florida. The topic of today's lecture is biorhythm hacking. And before I get into biorhythm hacking, I would like to address a particular matter of concern to me. This matter is with regards to the muddling of narratives with respect to clandestine gang stalking campaigns. Now, don't get me wrong. I am of the mindset that most rights can be wronged, most wrongs can be made right. And gang stalking is no different. It is a wrong that can be made right. How do you make this wrong right? How do you make this mistake something palatable? How do you make this misgiving something that could benefit society in accordance with the precepts and political philosophy that's present in the United States Constitution? Well, first thing it's going to take a thorough understanding of what clandestine gang stalking is, why it's important, and why it's consequential. Then you have to get testimony from targeted individuals. However, that testimony can be presented either in written documents, like for example what I do online with online articles and postings, or with recorded material, like what I do with audio-visual lectures. Ultimately, it's up to the Congress to repeal the national security and intelligence protocols that allow gang stalking to exist. Now, I want to lay out some facts before we begin the lecture on biorhythm hacking. Because gang stalking is one of those sticky situations that can be rather problematic politically. The effects of the gang stalking mechanism being acknowledged by Congress could be vast and far-reaching. So, what we have to do is we have to lay out the facts of the program in case anyone tries to deny them. Okay, sometimes if a third party is involved in a dispute of some kind or a matter of immense legal importance like clandestine gang stalking, they may try to muddle the facts so that the narrative is more in their favor. There's an old saying that says that facts are a stubborn thing. And they are a stubborn thing. I mean, they're supposed to be stubborn. Facts are a guideline for reality. If something is real, if something is true, if something is provable, then it has solid facts to prove that it's real, true, and provable. Take the scientific method, for example. If a physicist or a biologist or a medical doctor or a rocket scientist or an astrophysicist or a zoologist has a new theory about the way the world works, about the way the universe works, about the way people work with respect to their scientific application, well, then they present what's called a theory. That theory is examined by his peers. That theory is examined by various authoritative scientific organizations. That theory is examined by the U.S. federal establishment, and conclusions are made based upon that theory. And that theory will either be shown as true or not true. There's a 7-step method in the scientific theory that will show whether or not a new theory on the nature of things is true. Now, I don't have that list in front of me. I hate to disappoint, but after step 7, if your theory passes the previous 6 steps and then it passes the 7th step, then it can be seen as true. And it can be seen as fact. Gang stalking is no different. Because it has not been officially recognized by federal, state, or local governments as a true thing, that means it's up to the targeted individuals or the people who think it's true to prove it's true. Now, I'm going to lay out the facts of gang stalking for you right here and now. Because those who participate in it, those who orchestrate it, those who think that this deleterious signaling mechanism, this social engineering platform, this germ spreading mechanism, this search and attack mechanism, this biorhythm hacking mechanism, this data collection mechanism, this espionage mechanism, this annoyance and pestering mechanism, this useful idiot mechanism. There are actual people out there that participate in this that think it's good for society, but they know that it disenfranchises certain segments of the population horribly. They know it's atrocious. They know it's treasonous. They know it's cowardly, but they enjoy participating in it because it gives them power over other people. State-enabled power over other people. And they want to hold on to that power as long as they possibly can. So they will deny the facts so that the American people don't call for the abolition of this program called clandestine gang stalking. I call clandestine gang stalking the political conundrum of the 21st century because it has permeated, because it has infiltrated, because it has embedded itself in every crevice of the political structure in America and society in general. And because this disease-like program spreads like a virus, we have to treat it like a virus with the antidote of truth, with the antidote of justice, with the antidote of good governance, with the antidote of the rule of law, with the antidote of corporate social responsibility, with the antidote of exposure, with the antidote of analysis and examination, with the antidote of justice, with the antidote of constitutional values and precepts, with the antidote of inalienable rights and its importance. So here are the facts. I suspect they'll be denied by the perpetrators of clandestine gang stalking at some point when this program is brought to light federally. But if they want to lie, if they want to cheat, if they want to steal, if they want to spin the truth, if they want to craft false narratives, if they want to hide what they do for fear of prosecution, for the abuse of taxpayer resources, for the abuse of national security resources, for the abuse of law enforcement and semi-law enforcement resources, for the abuse of taxpayer money, for the abuse of inalienable rights, for the abuse of constitutional values and precepts. Imagine a world where sovereign United States citizens can be attacked without consequence by people who have aligned themselves with a fraternity of state-sanctioned, signaled buffoons. That is the America that we have. America's better than this. I want to believe America is better than this. If it ever gets to the point where I believe America is not better than this, I will tell you, you know what? America has just fallen off the map. America just simply isn't the country that it once was. Patriotism has been corrupted. It has been polluted. It is in a degenerate state. I will tell you, I hope America's better than this. Because if it's not better than this, I'm going to have to repatriate with my significant other to another country. I refuse to live in a country as a sovereign United States citizen where my most basic rights, particularly those inalienable rights that are given to me by God or nature, those rights that no man, woman, child, company, or government can ever legally or lawfully infringe upon. I refuse to live in a country that does not value my inalienable rights, that does not respect my inalienable rights. Indeed, a country that allows the trampling of my inalienable rights using government resources as the anchor. It doesn't matter to me what your job title is. It doesn't matter to me what your position is. It doesn't matter to me how much authority you have. It doesn't matter to me if you work in the religious sector, if you work in the private sector, or if you work in the public sector in this country. It does not matter to me. If you participate in state-sanctioned thuggery simply because you know you can get away with it, then you're a gang stalker. Plain and simple. I've talked about some of gang stalking's auspices. It's a social engineering platform. It's aimed at shaping society in a way that pleases the orchestrators of this program, particularly those in the national security, intelligence community, and the religious establishment. It's aimed at human behavior modification, and it's aimed at human behavior data collection. Simply put, if you participate in this program, you are gelatin in your soul. And I consider you to be degenerate in nature, particularly if you use this program to cause evils to others simply because it gives you an ego boost or makes you feel better about your own unfulfilled existence in this world. Quite frankly, you participate in a state-sanctioned pestering mechanism. And when this program comes to light and the facts come out, and you're all exposed for the knuckleheads you are, you're going to start denying stuff. And I don't care if you work in the Department of Defense or not. I don't care what governmental auxiliary you work in. If you participate in this and you start denying it, I'm going to call you out on your lies right here on social media. Okay? What kind of man puts his life at risk to participate in such thuggery? What man disrespects the sanctity of his marriage to participate in a state-sanctioned signaling mechanism that is aimed at pestering other U.S. citizens? That's right. The sanctity of your marriage is in jeopardy because when your wife and kids find out what dad's out doing, they're going to have less respect for you. And that's something that you're risking so you can take part in this thuggery. Some of you need to spend more time with your wife and kids and with your family and going on family outings than worrying about what I say. If you don't like it, especially, turn the channel. Go to Amazon Prime or HBO Max and watch your favorite movie over and over. Grab a box of donuts and sit in front of your computer and browse your favorite websites. Go to your local restaurant and grab a hamburger. Bring it back. Heat it up real nice and good. And sit in front of your television set and watch your favorite soap opera. Don't pester me and don't pester the people that listen to me. I'm going to lay out some facts, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, gang stalking, hate stalking, cause stalking, community harassment, workplace mobbing. Okay, hate stalking, covert war, all of these are names for gang stalking. And for good reason. Secondly, gang stalking is federal in nature. It uses national security elements, military elements, semi-military elements, law enforcement elements, semi-law enforcement elements, governmental elements, and it's federally funded. There's no jurisdiction. That's why if a targeted person moves from one state to the other, they're followed and they're handed off from the stalkers in state A to the stalkers in state B, who pick him up the minute he crosses into their state. The minute he crosses state lines, he's picked up by a new set of stalkers. That means this program is federal. There's no jurisdiction. That means that this program was authorized by Congress at some point. The next fact about gang stalking is that it is signal-based. How does a stalker know who the target is in a crowded room? How does a stalker know who the target is on a crowded bus? How does a stalker know who the target is in a crowded restaurant, in a crowded shopping mall, at a public swimming pool, on a college campus, in the workplace, at church, at the public park, at the public library, at the public school? How does a stalker know who the target is when you're at a parade or when you're at a fireworks celebration for the 4th of July? Or if you and your loved ones are at a picnic somewhere where there's other families having picnics as well. How does a stalker know who the target is? Because the stalker reads a signal from another stalker who knows you're the target. Now, stalkers have a fairly hidden, fairly clandestine signaling mechanism that they use, but I figured it out. It's hand signals, it's verbal commands, it's vehicular maneuvers, it's other physical gestures and cues. There are lots of different signals that stalkers use to point targets out to other stalkers. That's the point. It is stalker after stalker after stalker after stalker sending and receiving signals to point out the target so stalkers will know who the pariah is, who the suspicious person is, who the mark is, who the bad person is. And they descend upon that person with pestering, annoyance, germ spreading, and attacks. And that's across the demographic spectrum, ladies and gentlemen. Gang stalking is regional in nature, and ladies and gentlemen, it all depends on where you are in the country. If you're in South Florida, whatever the primary or majority demographic is there, that is going to be the racial makeup of your gang stalkers. If you're in Atlanta, if you're in Los Angeles, if you're in Houston, if you're in Chicago, if you're in New York City, if you're in Providence, if you're in Montpelier, if you're in Tempe, if you're in Des Moines, if you're in Salt Lake City, if you're in Tulsa, if you're in Charleston, if you're in Providence, if you're in Knoxville, if you're in Shaker Heights, if you're in Detroit, okay, if you're in Philadelphia, whoever the majority demographic is in the city a target is in, that is going to be the main demographic that you're going to experience gang stalking from. It depends on where you are in the country. The next fact is gang stalking is in the employ, or rather uses the services of, federally authorized liaisons. There are federally authorized liaisons that are strategically planted throughout this country in various cities and states. And these people, some of them, many of them, have various technologies, including cell phone, cellular technology. Some of them wear electronic earpieces that are hidden. Some use other various communication technologies hidden somewhere on their body. I don't want to guess where these liaisons bury the hidden technology and sound equipment. I'm not even going to make any guesses as to where they keep it. There's no telling what part of their body these liaisons bury that equipment so that no one sees it. Okay? They are strategically planted throughout the United States, and they receive various communicative signals and commands from a clandestine third party, which may originate from various elements of the national security apparatus, the intelligence apparatus, and the defense apparatus of this country. Okay? This is a human experimentation mechanism gone horribly wrong. Period. Targets were not supposed to figure this out. It was never supposed to leak. Everything is top secret. And these pricks really thought they were going to get away with this, implementing this by stealth into the American legal code and into American society. The next fact is that there are undercover operatives that use gang stalking mechanisms. Undercover operatives are not quite as high up as the liaisons on the hierarchy. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, gang stalking is hierarchical in nature. There are levels to it, just like there are levels to any enterprise. You have the ground level employees, you have their supervisors, you have upper level managers, you have corporate officers, and then you have executives. Gang stalking is no different. There are levels to it. Now, I've identified the stalkers, the undercovers, and the liaisons, but there are parties above the liaisons that get the action going to a unbelievably exponentially higher degree than the liaisons. They make themselves hard to discover. They like to do their dirt behind the scenes. Because after all, they'd hate to get caught doing this dirt. They have families and responsibilities to take care of, so they don't want to get caught because their scheme might land them in the bread lines. So these undercovers, they could be from the military, they could be from law enforcement auxiliaries, and mind you, I've done semi-law enforcement work myself. I am not anti-law enforcement, I'm anti-gang stalking. So, ultimately, these undercovers, they act like zoo animals. They go wherever a target is supposed to go. They show their faces, and they disrupt and cause a ruckus. They instigate problems. They do anything they can do to draw attention to themselves, because a lot of them are in this to try and make a name for themselves. Even if it means causing a ruckus with other people. And I can see these undercovers coming from a mile away. I don't know if they make themselves readily visible simply because they feel safer if the person they're watching knows that they are wards of the state. Okay, I suspect that they don't want to be totally hidden from the eyes of the target, because at that point I guess they feel insignificant. And if they want to feel significant, they have to let the target know, yeah, I'm an undercover, and yeah, I get to do this and that to you. I can even cough in the air or sneeze in the air or use any manner of disgusting bodily functions around you in an attempt to get you sick, and you can't do anything about it because I work for the state. And then they scurry off into the sunset like the Lone Ranger. All right? It's a pathetic existence, ladies and gentlemen. Thirdly, there are stalkers. They are people who are not sworn into any particular office or position for the state. They do not have any governmental power at all. They are simply people who take signals from other stalkers to the whereabouts of a target to pester him as a matter of protocol and fitting in. They get social credit for doing that crap. Some may use signals on the job to sabotage co-workers. Some may use signals in various other places, including their communities, so that they can maneuver about secretly without other people getting wise. I wouldn't be surprised if some of you stalkers use signals with other people who use stalkers so you can quietly and secretly cheat on your wife. And get away with it. Stalkers look out for each other like that. There are lots of elements to gang stalking, ladies and gentlemen. There are facts that are irrefutable. Okay? Biorhythm hacking, ladies and gentlemen. Biorhythm hacking is a central component of gang stalking. There's an old saying that says, know your enemy. And before the U.S. federal establishment of this country makes an enemy out of any sovereign citizen and turns them into a targeted individual with the click of a mouse, they have to know you first. They have to become intimate with you. They have to know your proclivities, your inclinations, your height, your weight, your skin color, your hair texture, your eye color, the condition of your teeth, whether you have tattoos or not, the kinds of clothes you like to wear, the kinds of stores you like to shop at, the kind of food you like to eat, the kind of drinks you like to drink, what you like to do for recreation. Are you a smoker or non-smoker? Are you a drug user or not? Are you a Christian, Buddhist, Hindu, Jew, or Muslim? How devout? What's your credit like? What kind of jobs have you had? What's your cell phone carrier? What's your revolving monthly debt? What's your educational background? What kind of music do you listen to? What kind of television do you listen to? Are you married or not married? How many sex partners have you had? What kind of people do you make friends with? What kind of sports are you into? What was your high school experience like? What was your college experience like? What's your church experience like? What's your IQ? Are you smart or dumb? Are you wise or foolish? Are you intuitive or nitwitted? Are you quick-tempered or are you easygoing? The orchestrators of gang stalking have to know these things and others about the targeted individual before they start the gang stalking campaign. This is done so that the maximum amount of control can be exercised over the target, the maximum amount of data can be aggregated about the target, the right types of people can be dispatched against the target. That the right rewards and penalties can be presented to the target if he or she does or says something right or wrong. What kind of house you live in, target? What kind of neighborhoods have you been raised in, target? What kind of people have you associated yourself over the course of your life, target? These are the questions they ask you. What kind of car you driving, target? How much you spending on gas every month, target? What bank do you use, target? What's your routing and account number, target? How do you react to provocations from useful idiot knuckleheads, target? Ladies and gentlemen, my gang stalkers don't care about the true answer to any of these questions. They like to create answers. Okay, they don't want to know what my temperament is like. They can stage a scenario where I act uncomfortable, where I act frustrated, where I act angry. And they'll go, up, see, we proved it. This guy's a violent one, he's an unhinged one. Let's use our biggest, strongest, most criminally insane gang stalkers for this one. I'm calling y'all knuckleheads right to your face. As much of your face as you're willing to show me. A lot of you like to hide behind the scenes and do your crap. You like to hide behind technology and orchestrate staged conflicts with me and strangers on a daily basis just simply because you can. Okay, I'm going to keep making videos and calling your punk asses out. That I can promise you. You and your undercovers and your stalkers. Hear me? And if you bother my significant other, I'm going to call you out for on her behalf too. And that's all right. I know you guys are going to start denying this stuff when it comes to light. That's fine. Go ahead and get your scurry off plan ready. I'll tell the truth. Don't worry. You can go hide somewhere. I'll tell it. Because that's how gelatin people operate. You do whatever you can, when you can, as long as the dirt you do has protections. Because it makes you feel like a big shot, then you scurry off when the plan falls to the ground. You know, in order to implement biorhythm hacking, which is a central component and one of the earliest components of gang stalking, every piece of information that a person is capable of generating, including their medical records, has to be made available to those in control of his gang stalking campaign. So that they know how best to control you in the interest of civil order, quote. And I say that with quotations. You know, there's a beautiful movie that was released in 1982. It starred Paul Newman as a trial lawyer, Charlotte Rampling as his love interest, and James Mason as his rival attorney. This movie is called The Verdict. And it was recognized at the Academy Awards that year, and it won a bunch of other awards. It has a stunning cast, and they act out the movie real well. And the narrative, the story is in the plot. It's beautifully rendered. I can't remember if it started off as a novel and was adapted into a screenplay, or if the script was originated for the big screen. But in any case, it's a wonderful movie. I highly recommend it. In this movie, there's a scene where Paul Newman's character, whose name in the film was Frank Gavin, takes his love interest to a bar. And they're doing what any couple does at a bar. They sit, they have a few drinks, they smoke a few cigarettes. This was made in 1982, so smoking was still legal indoors, particularly in restaurants and bars. And they talked about things that interested them, particularly the legal profession. Because both Gavin and his love interest were both legal professionals in this film. And Gavin says to his love interest at some point during their bar scene something that I consider to be a profound truth about the legal system, not only here in America, but any legal system anywhere in the world. He says to her, the legal system was not created to give people justice. The legal system was created to give people a chance at justice. That is true. That is true on so many levels. No courtroom anywhere in the world can guarantee justice for anybody. Whether you're a victim of a crime, or whether it's a divorce proceeding, or whether it's civil litigation, or whether it's arbitration, or whether it's legal maneuverings concerning business transactions, the courts give you a chance at justice based on the evidence presented. And oftentimes this evidence is weighed by a jury who makes the ultimate decision. Now, whether your case is decided by a judge, whether it's decided by a magistrate, whether it's decided by an arbiter, whether it's decided by a jury, okay, you have a chance at justice. Sometimes justice prevails, sometimes justice does not prevail. There are 1,000,001 things that can happen in a court of law that will change the trajectory of the legal proceedings. There are a whole wide list of things that could happen in a court of law that could change the outcome. There are innocent people who have been convicted of heinous crimes and their lives destroyed. There are guilty people who have been let off the hook, and then still there are those that got justice. People are not perfect, so courtrooms are not perfect, government is not perfect, the law is not perfect, but that is no excuse for the miscarriage of justice. The law, government, politics, the judicial system, all of it is constructed to make the attainment of justice as sure a thing as possible. Courtrooms don't like it when justice is miscarried, especially prosecutors. That's not to say defense attorneys like when justice is miscarried. It's just defense attorneys have a different legal philosophy with respect to criminal matters than prosecutors do. And there are some very sharp, very intuitive, very dynamic, and very intelligent defense attorneys who have gotten clients that were innocent of crimes exonerated. And there are equally industrious defense attorneys who had clients that were not guilty of something that wound up getting found guilty of something because something happened in the courtroom unexpectedly, or maybe there was a misgiving. Sometimes people outright lie in a court of law. And if that lie is told well enough, it can change the trajectory of the court proceedings in their favor. We have a chance at justice. That's why when you get into a court of law, you really have to hammer home the evidence and the truth of the matter if you know what that truth is. Some people create their own truth in a court of law, and that truth that they create is not factual. However, they could still get their way depending on these 1,000,001 variables that could manifest in a court of law. We have a chance at justice in a court of law, and it is unfortunately not guaranteed. Now, with respect to gang stalking, the kinds of people that orchestrate this thuggery, I mean, in my opinion, okay, they're not only committing acts of mass murder, they're committing acts of high treason. If it were up to me, I would get with the United Nations and I would ask to erect a international court to prosecute not only the orchestrators of gang stalking, but the participants as well. Now, the way gang stalking is designed, it's hard to locate everyone who's ever participated. It allows knuckleheads to do dirt without getting caught. Its methods are clandestine, and they're hard to define a lot of times. That's why it takes a sharp eye to see what's going on around you. I can see a stalker a mile away. I can see an undercover a mile away. I can see a liaison a mile away. They all kind of have this hoity-toity, schmuck-bred, ill-conceived way about them. Like, yeah, I'm here to do something annoying. Who's going to do something about it? I got state-sanctioned power. Right? The kind of knucklehead that'll just take a signal over to somebody and just do any number of ignorant or thuggish or pandering things and then scurry off on a motorbike or something. I mean, it really is, it's gelatin. It's gelatin. And I think the worst of human nature is exemplified in gang stalkers, liaisons, and undercovers. I really do. So biorhythm hacking, ladies and gentlemen, you can essentially disrupt a person's biorhythm. Now, what's a biorhythm? A biorhythm is a person's, it's kind of like you could characterize it as the rhythm of a person's life. So let's say that a person who has been all of their vital statistics have already been aggregated by stalkers, and they're ready to commence the gang stalking campaign and make it a real thing. They have to hack the target's biorhythm. So your biorhythm is sort of the rhythm of your life, the trajectory or the daily movements of your life. So let's say that a person, a target, wakes up every day at 6 o'clock, takes a walk around the neighborhood, showers, eats breakfast, puts his clothes on, goes to work. He's there by 9 o'clock. By 1 o'clock, he's at lunch. He's back to the office by 1:45. He clocks out at 4:30. He grabs a bite to eat at a local diner, then he goes home. Let's say this is a single business professional. This routine has to be watched and surveilled by gang stalkers if they're going to successfully stalk this person, if they're going to successfully disrupt this person, if they're going to successfully impose their state-sanctioned thuggery on this person, their state-sanctioned attacks, their state-sanctioned sabotage, their state-sanctioned germ spreading, whatever these knuckleheads do, they have to impose that on him first by understanding his biorhythm. So let's say that the guy gets a promotion and he meets a girl. Now his biorhythm is going to change. Now, let's say he wakes up an hour earlier, does his walk, showers, eats breakfast, but now he has someone cooking for him as opposed to him heating up breakfast. So now his breakfast take about a half hour longer because he's eating a home-cooked breakfast as opposed to something microwavable. So that means he has to wake up an hour earlier. And that's going to change the entire trajectory of his morning. So now when he gets off of work, maybe he stops and buys something for two as opposed to one. And he goes home to his significant other and they enjoy each other's company. Maybe he stays up an hour later each night. So his biorhythm has changed because of him meeting somebody. You see? Now, what does it mean to hack somebody's biorhythm? Well, it means you disrupt it. Why? You know what? The U.S. federal government, its national security apparatus, its intelligence apparatus, and its departments of defense and justice all have reasons for it. They just haven't made these reasons public because they're unconstitutional. Why disrupt a person's biorhythm? Why intervene or intercept a person's biorhythm so you can throw it off? Well, like I said, gang stalking has roots in human behavior experimentation, and quite frankly, the life of the target is of no concern to the stalkers, nor the undercovers, nor the liaisons. They all have about as little regard for the life of the target as they do for the United States Constitution. And everything they do with respect to this state-sanctioned thuggery mechanism, and mind you, they're just following orders. They get their orders from up top and they follow them. They don't care the damage it does to anybody. That's why I call them thugs. So they do what they do because they're told to do it. And a person is put in a gang stalking campaign because it's seen as in their best interest to be a target. It's seen as the best interest of the stalkers themselves. Because after all, if you're going to use somebody as a guinea pig in a gang stalking campaign, you want to make sure that they feel timid, that they feel outnumbered, that they feel cornered. So that they are not constantly going off the rails at stalkers, undercovers, and liaisons. You see the cowardice in it? I'm glad I'm not a stalker. I don't think I could look at myself in the mirror. But you have people all across this country that participate in this thuggery, and they look at themselves in the mirror, and they're actually okay with themselves. Isn't that special? So, ultimately, they want to disrupt this person's biorhythm as an experimentational thing, despite the damage it has on him or his career or his relationship. None of that is of any concern to these animals. And I called stalkers, liaisons, and undercovers zoo animals because the ones that come around me act like that. And they'll give you excuses as to why. Well, because this kid's a jerk and all this other stuff. You're wards of the state that use state-sanctioned signaling mechanisms to pester people. You grown man, you. Hell, I know children and teenagers that would vomit if somebody asked them to do something like that, but you're grown men doing it. You ought to be ashamed of your damn selves. And yeah, this is going up on social media too, so the whole world can see how I feel about you. A lot of you pester women with this garbage. My significant other, Lori, she's one of the ones you pester. You all can go right to hell with your cowardly asses. All of you. The stalkers, the undercovers, and the liaisons. And whoever it is that signaled you over here, tell them I said they could go to hell too. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it's a bunch of grown men using state-sanctioned mischief tools to create havoc in the lives of certain people. And these are the types of people that we got monitoring targeted individuals like myself, sovereign citizens, who want our inalienable rights observed. And Congress, those of you that know about me, that know about my project, that wish I would talk more gently to you, fat chance. It's not in my best interest to speak lullabies about this. This was a harsh, brutal thing you've unleashed on society. And my words are going to meet it with harsh, brutal rhetoric. Gang stalking is not in anyone's best interest, nor is it in the interest of constitutional values and precepts. Rather, it's state-sanctioned thuggery that apparently has no end, and it has vague beginnings. Put that one together. So why disrupt a person's biorhythm? The biorhythm that they themselves created to make their lives more productive. Well, to prove you can do it, for one. Two, a lot of stalkers think doing stuff like that is fun. Three, it's human behavior experimentation. Four, it's human behavior modification. If you can make someone change their biorhythm, then you have successfully remotely changed the way they behave. Some stalkers think that makes them powerful. No, it makes you a state